The unexpected response to the darkness of space around planet Zirion Prime was filled with the gleaming hulls of 2,800 alien warships. The Galactic Dominion fleet stretched across the void like a metal ocean, each vessel bristling with weapons capable of destroying entire cities. They had come to claim the human colonies in the Zirion system, rich worlds that contain the galaxy's largest deposits of quantum fuel. Fleet Admiral Zarketh stood on the command deck of his massive flagship, the Star Destroyer. His 8-foot frame was covered in thick purple scales, and his yellow eyes glowed with anticipation. As Supreme Commander of the Dominion forces, he had conquered 47 star systems in his career. Today would be his 48th. Status report, Zarketh commanded, his deep voice echoing through the bridge. Commander Vex, a thin gray alien with fur arms, looked up from his tactical station. Admiral, our sensors show no sign of the human fleet yet. Intelligence reports suggest they have approximately 900 warships scattered across their territory. They should arrive within 6 hours. Zarketh nodded, studying the holographic display that showed his fleet in perfect battle formation. The largest ships formed the center, while destroyers and fighters created protective screens around them. It was a formation that had never failed him. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "we're detecting a single ship approaching from human space." "One ship?" Zarketh's scaled features showed confusion. "Are you certain?" "Confirmed, Admiral. Its broadcasting identification as the human vessel Horizon. Length approximately 1,000 meters. Through the main viewing port, Zarketh could see the approaching ship. Even with the powerful magnification systems, it looked tiny compared to his massive fleet. His flagship alone was 10 times larger than the human vessel. "Where is their fleet?" Zarketh demanded. "This must be a messenger ship." The communications officer spoke up again. "Sir, the human ship is requesting to speak with you directly." "Put them through." The main screen flickered to life, showing the bridge of the human ship. A woman in her late 30s appeared, wearing a simple black uniform with captain stripes. Her red hair was tied back in a practical ponytail, and her green eyes showed calm confidence despite facing impossible odds. "I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earthship Horizon," she said. "I'm here to discuss the situation in the Zirion system." Admiral Zarketh stepped forward, his massive frame towering over the communication console. "Captain Rodriguez, I am Fleet Admiral Zarketh of the Galactic Dominion. You are one ship facing nearly 3,000. Where is your fleet?" Captain Rodriguez smiled slightly. "Admiral, you're looking at it." The bridge of the Horizon was unlike any warship the Dominion had ever encountered. Instead of rows of weapon controls and tactical displays, the command center looked more like a research laboratory. Holographic screens showed complex mathematical equations and energy patterns that would have been meaningless to most military personnel. Captain Rodriguez turned to address her crew of 30. Unlike the massive crews that operated Dominion warships, the Horizon functioned with minimal personnel. Each officer was a specialist in advanced theoretical physics and quantum engineering. "Dr. Chun, status on the probability engines?" Captain Rodriguez asked that doctor. David Chun, a tall man with graying hair and sharp brown eyes, looked up from his science station. "All quantum probability systems are online, Captain. Reality alteration fields are stable at 98% efficiency. Causality manipulation arrays are ready for deployment." "Lieutenant Torres, navigation status?" Maria Torres, a young officer with dark hair and quick reflexes, responded without looking away from her controls. "All dimensional phase systems are locked onto the Dominion fleet's position. We can execute reality shifts with precision down to the molecular level." Captain Rodriguez nodded and opened a channel to the Dominion flagship. "Admiral Zarketh, before we proceed, I want you to understand something. We didn't come here to fight you in the way you expect." The alien admiral's voice came through the speakers, filled with what sounded like amusement. "Captain Rodriguez, you have courage, but courage cannot overcome such overwhelming odds. You are one ship against thousands. Surrender now, and I will spare your crew. Admiral, Rodriguez replied, you're making the same mistake that every military commander in the galaxy makes. You're assuming we follow the same rules of warfare that you do. On the Dominion flagship, Admiral Zarketh was growing impatient. His tactical officers were reporting strange energy readings from the human ship, but nothing that indicated significant weapons capabilities. The vessel appeared to be defenseless. Captain Rodriguez, the Admiral said, I will give you 5 minutes to withdraw from this system. If you refuse, I will be forced to destroy your ship. Admiral, before you make that decision, I want to demonstrate something for you, Rodriguez replied. Dr. Chun, show them our probability manipulation capabilities. Dr. Chen's hands moved across his control panel. Deep within the horizon, quantum probability engines began generating forces that had never been used in combat. The ship's experimental technology didn't rely on conventional weapons like lasers or missiles. Instead, it manipulated the fundamental laws of probability and causality. Target the asteroid field between our positions, Dr. Chin reported. Proceed, Captain Rodriguez ordered. The crew of the Horizon watched their displays as Dr. Chin activated the probability manipulation array. In the space between the human ship and the Dominion fleet, a cluster of asteroids began behaving in impossible ways. The rocks started rearranging themselves into perfect geometric patterns, defying the normal laws of physics that on the Dominion flagship, Admiral Zarketh watched the display with growing alarm. His science officers were reporting probability fluctuations that should have been impossible to create artificially. What are they doing? He demanded. Admiral, they appear to be altering the probability of natural events, his chief scientist reported. The asteroids are arranging themselves in patterns that have a mathematical probability of 0. Captain Rodriguez's voice came through the communication system. Admiral, what you're seeing is just the beginning. We're not manipulating the asteroids themselves. We're manipulating the probability that they would be in those positions. The asteroids suddenly transformed into a complex spiral pattern that spelled out words in the Dominion language. Choose wisely. Impossible, Admiral Zarketh whispered. Admiral, Captain Rodriguez continued, that demonstration used less than 5% of our ship's capabilities. We can alter the probability of your weapons hitting their targets. We can change the likelihood that your engines will function properly. We can make it virtually certain that your entire fleet will experience simultaneous system failures. Dr. Chin looked up from his station. Captain, I'm detecting movement throughout the Dominion fleet. They're repositioning into defensive formations. Captain Rodriguez studied the tactical display. The alien ships were spreading out, trying to minimize the damage the Horizon could cause. But they were still thinking in terms of conventional warfare. Admiral Zarketh, Rodriguez said, your fleet is reacting exactly as we predicted. You're trying to use traditional tactics against technology that makes those tactics irrelevant. The alien admiral's voice came through the speakers, now showing clear signs of stress. Captain Rodriguez, what do you want? We want you to understand something fundamental about humanity. Admiral, we don't fight the way other species fight. We don't build bigger weapons or stronger armor. We change the rules of the game entirely. Lieutenant Torres reported from her station. Captain, long-range sensors are detecting additional Dominion ships approaching from 2 different directions. It appears they're trying to surround us. Captain Rodriguez nodded. Perfect. Dr. Chun, prepare to demonstrate our causality manipulation capabilities. Dr. Chen's instruments showed energy readings climbing to levels that would have been dangerous for any conventional spacecraft. But the Horizon wasn't conventional. Every system had been designed to handle forces that could reshape reality itself. Causality field generators are ready. Captain, we can create temporal cause and effect, loops extending up to 100,000 kilometers from our position. Admiral Zarketh, Captain Rodriguez said, your reinforcements are about to learn that cause and effect are not as fixed as you might think. The Dominion ships approaching from 2 directions were moving at maximum speed. Confident that even the strangest human technology couldn't work against multiple targets attacking simultaneously. Their crews had spent years training for space combat, and they knew that victory belonged to the side with the most ships and firepower. They were wrong. Dr. Chen activated the causality manipulation field. The space around the horizon began to shimmer like heat waves, but this wasn't heat. Reality itself was being altered. The approaching Dominion ships suddenly found themselves caught in impossible loops of cause and effect. From the perspective of the Horizon crew, the enemy ships were firing their weapons before they had decided to fire them. Explosions were occurring before the weapons had been triggered. The ships were experiencing their own destruction and then returning to their previous state, trapped in endless cycles of causality. Admiral Captain Rodriguez said calmly, "Your reinforcements are currently trapped in temporal causality loops. From their perspective, they're experiencing the same few seconds over and over again. They'll remain trapped until we choose to release them." The Dominion flagship was outside the causality field, so Admiral Zarkith could observe what was happening to his approaching fleets. Ships that should have reached the human vessel in minutes were now frozen in space, apparently reliving the same moments repeatedly. "This violates every law of physics," the Admiral said, but his voice lacked conviction. He was seeing evidence that contradicted everything he thought he knew about the universe. Admiral Captain Rodriguez replied, "Physics is more flexible than most people realize. The question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge?" The bridge of the horizon was filled with quiet determination. Captain Rodriguez's crew were all volunteers who had trained for months to operate technology that seemed like magic even to them. They knew that the success or failure of their mission would determine whether humanity would be forced to fight wars across dozens of star systems. Dr. Chun Rodriguez said quietly, "Are you ready to demonstrate our reality revision capabilities?" Dr. Chun nodded. "Captain, I can revise the physical properties of any object within a 100-kilometer radius. Mass, velocity, atomic structure, even the fundamental forces binding matter together." "Good. Admiral Zarkith, I want you to choose one ship from your fleet. Any ship. We're going to show you what happens when we stop manipulating probability and start revising reality itself." The silence from the Dominion flagship stretched for several minutes. Admiral Zarkith was consulting with his officers, trying to decide whether to continue with what was clearly becoming an impossible battle. Finally, his voice came through the speakers. "Captain Rodriguez, I choose the battle cruiser Void Hunter. It has armor designed to withstand nuclear explosions." "Thank you, Admiral. Please observe carefully." Dr. Chin targeted the Void Hunter, a sleek vessel nearly 2 kilometers long. The ship's black hull was covered with weapon systems and defensive screens. Its crew of 5,000 were among the most experienced warriors in the Dominion fleet. Revising targets' fundamental properties, Dr. Chin reported, the Void Hunter began to change. Its solid metal hull became transparent like glass, then shifted to what appeared to be liquid mercury, then transformed into what looked like crystalline structures. The ship was still there, its crew was still alive, but its basic physical properties were being revised in real time. Admiral Captain Rodriguez said, "Your ship's crew is perfectly safe. We've simply revised the physical properties of their hull to demonstrate our capabilities. We can change solid matter to liquid, liquid to gas, or even alter the fundamental forces that hold atoms together." The Void Hunter returned to its original solid state, completely undamaged, but forever changed in the minds of its crew and observers. "Captain Rodriguez," Admiral Zarkith said, quietly, "you have technology that makes conventional warfare meaningless." "That's correct, Admiral. But more importantly, we have something else." "What?" "We have restraint." Captain Rodriguez walked to the center of a bridge where a holographic display showed the entire Zirian system. "Admiral, we could have revised the physical properties of your entire fleet, turning your ships into harmless gas clouds. We could have trapped all of you in causality loops until you agreed to our terms. We could have altered the probability of your existence to 0. Why didn't you?" "Because destruction is easy, Admiral. Any species with nuclear weapons can destroy things. What's difficult is building something better than what existed before. The Dominion fleet was no longer maintaining its aggressive formation. Ships were drifting apart as their crews tried to process what they had witnessed. Some of the smaller vessels were already beginning to withdraw, their commanders unwilling to face technology that could rewrite the laws of physics. Captain Rodriguez, Admiral Zarkith said, "What are your terms?" "I don't have terms, Admiral. I have a proposal." The demonstration of absolute power, the space around the horizon, had become a laboratory where the impossible became routine. Captain Rodriguez stood on her bridge, watching as the Dominion fleet struggled to understand technology that defied every principle of warfare they had ever learned. "Dr. Chun," she said, "prepare the dimensional phase manipulator. It's time to show them what we can do on a larger scale." Dr. Chen's fingers moved across his control panel, and the main display showed a view of the entire Zirian system. 5 planets orbited the central star, with the human colonies established on the second and third worlds. Massive mining operations extracted quantum fuel from deep beneath the planetary surfaces. "Captain, I can demonstrate our ability to phase entire planets into alternate dimensions," Dr. Chen reported. "The process is completely reversible, but it will show them that we can manipulate reality on a planetary scale." Admiral Zarkith's voice came through the communication system, filled with growing dread. "Captain Rodriguez, what are you planning to do?" "Admiral, your fleet came here to conquer worlds that don't belong to you. I want to show you what happens when someone has the power to make those worlds simply cease to exist." "You're talking about destroying entire planets?" "No, Admiral. I'm talking about something much more dramatic than destruction." Dr. Chin activated the dimensional phase manipulator. The technology was based on the same principles that allowed the ship to manipulate probability and causality, but scaled up to work with planetary masses. The 5th planet in the Zirian system, a barren world with no atmosphere, began to fade from normal space. "All Dominion vessels, this is Captain Rodriguez. Please observe the 5th planet in this system." The planet didn't explode or collapse. It simply became less real, fading like a ghost until it vanished completely. Where a world had existed moments before, there was now only empty space. "Admiral," Captain Rodriguez said, "the 5th planet hasn't been destroyed. It's been phased into an alternate dimension where it continues to exist normally. Its gravity is gone, its mass is gone, but the planet itself is perfectly intact in a parallel reality." Dr. Chin looked up from his station. "Captain, I can bring it back at any time, or I can phase it through multiple dimensions simultaneously." "Do it." The 5th planet began to reappear, but not as it had been before. It flickered in and out of existence, sometimes solid, sometimes transparent, sometimes appearing to be in multiple locations at once. The planet was existing in several dimensions simultaneously, a sight that violated every understanding of physics. "This is not possible," Admiral Zarkith whispered. "Admiral, if we can phase planets between dimensions, we can certainly handle a fleet of ships. Your vessels could find themselves scattered across multiple realities, each existing in a different dimensional phase." The Dominion fleet was breaking apart. Ships from different species were withdrawing in panic, their crews unable to cope with technology that treated the fundamental laws of reality as mere suggestions. "Captain Rodriguez," Admiral Zarkith said, "I need to understand your intentions. Are you planning to use this technology to conquer the galaxy?" "Admiral, if we wanted to conquer the galaxy, we would have done it already. We could have phased every hostile world into alternate dimensions and claimed their territories without firing a single shot. Then what do you want?" "We want to change the way the galaxy thinks about conflict resolution." Dr. Chun restored the 5th planet to its normal dimensional phase, but the demonstration had achieved its purpose. Every ship in the Dominion fleet had witnessed technology that could make entire worlds disappear at will. "Admiral," Captain Rodriguez continued, "humanity has developed beyond the need for traditional warfare. We've learned to manipulate the fundamental forces of existence itself. But more importantly, we've learned wisdom. Lieutenant Torres looked up from her station. Captain, I'm detecting massive communication traffic throughout the Dominion fleet. Multiple species are arguing about whether to retreat or continue the attack. What are they saying? The translation systems are having difficulty with all the different languages, but the main debate seems to be whether our technology is real or some kind of elaborate illusion. Captain Rodriguez opened a channel to the entire Dominion fleet. All ship commanders, this is Captain Rodriguez. I understand that some of you believe our demonstrations might be illusions or tricks. Dr. Chun, select 50 ships at random from their fleet. Dr. Chen's instruments identified 50 vessels spread throughout the Dominion formation. Targets selected, Captain. Phase them all into alternate dimensions simultaneously. 50 Dominion ships, ranging from small fighters to massive battle cruisers, simply vanished from normal space. Their crews found themselves in a parallel dimension where everything looked slightly different. The stars were in different positions, and their home worlds appeared to be missing from their expected locations. The remaining Dominion ships were now facing undeniable proof that human technology could manipulate reality on any scale. Their instruments confirmed that the 50 ships were gone, not destroyed, not relocated, but removed from their dimension entirely. Bring them back, Captain Rodriguez ordered. The 50 ships reappeared exactly where they had been, their crews shaken but unharmed. However, the demonstration had achieved its purpose. Even the most skeptical Dominion commanders now understood that they were dealing with forces beyond their comprehension. Admiral Zarketh, Captain Rodriguez said, "Your fleet commanders are beginning to understand that conventional military thinking is obsolete when facing technology that can manipulate dimensions, probability, and causality." The alien admiral's voice came through the speakers, now filled with resignation. "Captain Rodriguez, what do you propose?" "I propose that we demonstrate the positive applications of our technology." Dr. Chen looked up from his station with surprise. "Captain, are you planning to show them the creation protocols?" "Yes. It's time they understood that our technology isn't just about manipulation and control. It's about building something better." The holographic display changed to show the barren fifth planet that had been used for the dimensional phasing demonstration. The world was a dead rock with no atmosphere, no water, and no possibility of supporting life. Admiral, Captain Rodriguez said, "Watch what happens when we use our reality revision technology for creation instead of demonstration." Dr. Chen activated the creation protocols. The reality revision system began working on a planetary scale, but instead of destroying or phasing the world, it began building. The barren surface of the fifth planet started to change as matter was revised at the atomic level. Oceans began to appear as rock was converted to water. Continents took shape as the surface was reformed into habitable landmasses. An atmosphere developed as the planet's chemistry was revised to support life. Within hours, the dead world was transformed into a garden paradise. Admiral Captain Rodriguez said, "We didn't terraform that planet using conventional technology. We revised its reality to make it a living world. We changed its fundamental properties from dead rock to inhabited paradise." The transformation was visible to every ship in the Dominion fleet. Sensors confirmed that the fifth planet now had breathable atmosphere, liquid water, and even plant life covering its surface. What had been impossible barren rock was now a world suitable for colonization. "You created life itself," Admiral Zarketh said with awe. "We revised reality to include life where none had existed before. And, Admiral, this is just the beginning of what our technology can accomplish." Dr. Chun was monitoring readings from the newly created world. "Captain, I'm detecting the development of complex ecosystems. The planet is becoming self-sustaining." "Excellent. Admiral Zarketh, imagine what we could accomplish if the galaxy's resources were devoted to creation rather than destruction. Every dead world could become a garden. Every species could have unlimited living space. Scarcity could become a thing of the past." The Dominion fleet was no longer maintaining any pretense of military formation. Ships were drifting in space as their crews stared at the transformed planet through their viewing ports. Many of the vessels were beginning to power down their weapon systems. Captain Rodriguez, Admiral Zarkith said, "You're offering to share this technology? We're offering to share the benefits of this technology with civilizations that are willing to abandon aggressive expansion." What would that involve? Admiral, we're prepared to revise reality for any species that agrees to peaceful coexistence. Dead worlds can become living paradises. Scarce resources can become abundant. Diseases can be revised out of existence. Aging itself can become optional. Dr. Chin looked up from his station. "Captain, I'm receiving priority signals from multiple Dominion ships. 17 different species are requesting immediate negotiations. Put them through." The main screen divided into multiple windows, each showing a different alien commander. Species that had been united in their desire to conquer human colonies were now competing to be the first to negotiate with humanity. "This is Commander Thex of the Reptilian Confederation. We formally request to discuss peaceful coexistence." "This is Admiral Kairos of the Crystalline Empire. We wish to negotiate for access to your reality revision technology." "This is Fleet Leader Vash of the Nomad Clans. We offer to cease all aggressive actions in exchange for your assistance in finding suitable worlds for our people." Captain Rodriguez listened as commander after commander expressed their willingness to abandon conquest in favor of cooperation. The demonstration of humanity's creative capabilities had accomplished what threats never could have achieved. "All requesting commanders," Rodriguez said, "we will be happy to begin negotiations immediately. However, I want to make one thing clear. Our technology comes with built-in safeguards." "What kind of safeguards?" asked Commander Thex, the doctor. Chin explained, "Every piece of technology we share will be quantum entangled with our monitoring systems. If any civilization attempts to use our gifts for aggressive purposes, we can deactivate the technology remotely. Furthermore," Captain Rodriguez added, "we can detect any attempt to reverse engineer our systems or weaponize our creations. Any species that violates the terms of our agreement will find their technology permanently disabled." Admiral Zarkith's voice came through the communication system. "Captain Rodriguez, what about civilizations that refuse your offer? What happens to species that choose to continue with aggressive expansion?" "An excellent question, Admiral. Dr. Chun, demonstrate our isolation protocols." Dr. Chin activated another experimental system. Around the edge of the Zirian system, space itself began to change. A barrier of altered reality formed a sphere around the entire star system, creating a zone that separated it from the rest of the galaxy. "This is a dimensional isolation field," Captain Rodriguez explained. "We can create these barriers around any star system we choose. Civilizations inside the barrier can exist normally, but they cannot interact with the outside galaxy until they agree to peaceful coexistence." The implications were staggering. Humanity could effectively quarantine aggressive civilizations, cutting them off from interstellar trade, communication, and expansion without harming them. "You could isolate entire empires," Admiral Zarkith said. "That's correct. Any civilization that chooses continued aggression over cooperation will find itself alone in the galaxy until its leaders decide to change their approach." Dr. Chun was monitoring communications across the galaxy as news of the demonstration spread. "Captain, we're receiving signals from civilizations that weren't even part of this conflict. Word is traveling fast about what we've accomplished here." "What kind of signals?" "Requests for negotiation from over 200 different species. It appears that news of our technology is causing a galaxy-wide reconsideration of military policies." Captain Rodriguez smiled. "That was the goal, Dr. Chun. Begin broadcasting our offer to every inhabited world in the galaxy." The quantum communication array activated, sending a message that reached every corner of the galaxy simultaneously. The transmission bypassed normal communication networks, arriving at every inhabited planet at the same time regardless of distance. Citizens of the galaxy, Captain Rodriguez began. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earthship Horizon. Today, humanity offers a new path forward for galactic civilization. The message included recordings of all the demonstrations that had been performed for the Dominion fleet. Reality manipulation, dimensional phasing, planetary creation, all of it was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. For too long, the galaxy has been dominated by the principle that might makes right. Today, we offer an alternative. Any civilization that agrees to abandon aggressive expansion and embrace peaceful coexistence will have access to technology that makes scarcity obsolete. Dr. Chun was monitoring the galaxy-wide response. Captain, we're receiving acknowledgement signals from thousands of worlds. The response is unprecedented. What about the more aggressive civilizations? Several major empires are requesting immediate face-to-face negotiations. However, 3 civilizations have rejected our offer outright and are mobilizing their fleets against us. Captain Rodriguez nodded. She had expected some species to choose warfare over cooperation. Which civilizations? The Iron Hegemony, the Void Hunters, and the Machine Collective. They're forming an alliance and demanding that we surrender our technology to them. Dr. Chun, create isolation fields around all Iron Hegemony, Void Hunter, and Machine Collective territories. Captain, that will require isolating over 400 star systems. The energy requirements are enormous. Can we do it? Yes, but it will take the better part of a day to complete. Begin immediately. Across the galaxy, space began to change around the territories of the most aggressive civilizations. Star systems that had been launching points for conquest fleets suddenly found themselves cut off from the rest of the galaxy. This is Captain Rodriguez to all Iron Hegemony, Void Hunter, and Machine Collective vessels currently outside your territories, she broadcast. You have 12 hours to return home before the isolation fields are sealed permanently. Any ship that does not return will remain outside the barriers until your governments agree to peaceful coexistence. The response was immediate panic among the aggressive civilizations. Hundreds of conquest fleets suddenly found themselves racing home before they could be locked out of their own space. Admiral Zarketh watched the tactical displays showing the galaxy-wide transformation that humanity had initiated in a matter of hours. Captain Rodriguez, you've reorganized galactic civilization in a single day. Admiral, we've given every species a choice. They can continue with conquest and find themselves isolated from the rest of the galaxy, or they can join us in building something better. What about the Dominion? We're not as aggressive as the Iron Hegemony, but we're not entirely peaceful either. Captain Rodriguez studied the readings from the Dominion fleet. Most ships had powered down their weapons and were broadcasting requests for negotiation. Admiral, the Dominion has shown wisdom today. You were willing to listen rather than simply attack. We're prepared to offer you full partnership in our new galactic alliance. What would that involve? Complete access to our reality revision technology, with the understanding that it will be used for creation rather than destruction. Your people could transform every world in your territory into a paradise. Scarcity, disease, and even death could become things of the past. Admiral Zarketh consulted with his fleet commanders for several minutes before responding. Captain Rodriguez, on behalf of the Galactic Dominion, we accept your offer. Excellent. Dr. Chun, begin the technology transfer process for all Dominion territories. The quantum entanglement systems activated, creating links between human technology and Dominion worlds. Within hours, Dominion scientists would begin receiving complete specifications for reality revision systems. Admiral Captain Rodriguez said, your people will find that our technology comes with complete educational systems. Your scientists won't just receive blueprints. They'll receive the knowledge needed to understand and safely operate systems that can revise reality itself. The transformation of the galaxy was proceeding faster than anyone had expected. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together to access humanity's offer of unlimited abundance. But Captain Rodriguez knew that the real test was yet to come. Part 3. The new galactic order 3 months after the confrontation in the Zirian system, Captain Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Galactic Cooperation Station. The massive facility floated in neutral space, serving as headquarters for the rapidly growing alliance of species that had embraced humanity's vision of peaceful coexistence. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see ships from over 300 different civilizations docked at the station. Vessels that had once been enemies now worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system of constant warfare. Captain, Dr. Chun called from his workstation. We're receiving the monthly report from the Dimensional Monitoring Array. All reality revision systems are functioning within normal parameters across Allied territories. Any violations of the peaceful use protocols? None reported. In fact, 17 species have requested additional training in advanced reality manipulation techniques. Captain Rodriguez smiled. The transformation of galactic civilization had exceeded even her most optimistic projections. Species that had devoted their entire cultures to warfare were now competing to see who could create the most beautiful worlds or develop the most beneficial technologies. Dr. Chun, what's the status of the isolated civilizations? The Iron Hegemony has been requesting negotiations for the past month. The Void Hunters are still refusing contact, but their isolation field is holding perfectly. The Machine Collective attempted to breach their barrier last week, but the dimensional locks held firm. And their populations, all isolated civilizations, remain healthy and safe within their barriers. They have access to all the resources they need for survival, but they cannot expand beyond their current territories or contact the outside galaxy. Lieutenant Torres looked up from the communication station. Captain, we're receiving signals from civilizations that weren't even part of this conflict. Word is traveling fast about what we've accomplished here. What kind of signals? Requests for negotiation from over 200 different species. It appears that news of our technology is causing a galaxy-wide reconsideration of military policies. Captain Rodriguez smiled. That was the goal, Dr. Chun. Begin broadcasting our offer to every inhabited world in the galaxy. The quantum communication array activated, sending a message that reached every corner of the galaxy simultaneously. The transmission bypassed normal communication networks, arriving at every inhabited planet at the same time regardless of distance. Citizens of the galaxy, Captain Rodriguez began. This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earthship Horizon. Today, humanity offers a new path forward for galactic civilization. The message included recordings of all the demonstrations that had been performed for the Dominion fleet. Reality manipulation, dimensional phasing, planetary creation, all of it was broadcast to every world in the galaxy. For too long, the galaxy has been dominated by the principle that might makes right. Today, we offer an alternative. Any civilization that agrees to abandon aggressive expansion and embrace peaceful coexistence will have access to technology that makes scarcity obsolete. Dr. Chun was monitoring the galaxy-wide response. Captain, we're receiving acknowledgement signals from thousands of worlds. The response is unprecedented. What about the more aggressive civilizations? Several major empires are requesting immediate face-to-face negotiations. However, 3 civilizations have rejected our offer outright and are mobilizing their fleets against us. Captain Rodriguez nodded. She had expected some species to choose warfare over cooperation. Which civilizations? The Iron Hegemony, the Void Hunters, and the Machine Collective. They're forming an alliance and demanding that we surrender our technology to them. Dr. Chun, create isolation fields around all Iron Hegemony, Void Hunter, and Machine Collective territories. Captain, that will require isolating over 400 star systems. The energy requirements are enormous. Can we do it? Yes, but it will take the better part of a day to complete. Begin immediately. Across the galaxy, space began to change around the territories of the most aggressive civilizations. Star systems that had been launching points for conquest fleets suddenly found themselves cut off from the rest of the galaxy. This is Captain Rodriguez to all Iron Hegemony, Void Hunter, and Machine Collective vessels currently outside your territories, she broadcast. You have 12 hours to return home before the isolation fields are sealed permanently. Any ship that does not return will remain outside the barriers until your governments agree to peaceful coexistence. The response was immediate panic among the aggressive civilizations. Hundreds of conquest fleets suddenly found themselves racing home before they could be locked out of their own space. Admiral Zarkith watched the tactical displays showing the galaxy-wide transformation that humanity had initiated in a matter of hours. Captain Rodriguez, you've reorganized galactic civilization in a single day. Admiral, we've given every species a choice. They can continue with conquest and find themselves isolated from the rest of the galaxy, or they can join us in building something better. What about the Dominion? We're not as aggressive as the Iron Hegemony, but we're not entirely peaceful either. Captain Rodriguez studied the readings from the Dominion fleet. Most ships had powered down their weapons and were broadcasting requests for negotiation. Admiral, the Dominion has shown wisdom today. You were willing to listen rather than simply attack. We're prepared to offer you full partnership in our new galactic alliance. What would that involve? Complete access to our reality revision technology, with the understanding that it will be used for creation rather than destruction. Your people could transform every world in your territory into a paradise. Scarcity, disease, and even death could become things of the past. Admiral Zarkith consulted with his fleet commanders for several minutes before responding. Captain Rodriguez, on behalf of the Galactic Dominion, we accept your offer. Excellent. Dr. Chun, begin the technology transfer process for all Dominion territories. The quantum entanglement systems activated, creating links between human technology and Dominion worlds. Within hours, Dominion scientists would begin receiving complete specifications for reality revision systems. Admiral Captain Rodriguez said, "Your people will find that our technology comes with complete educational systems. Your scientists won't just receive blueprints. They'll receive the knowledge needed to understand and safely operate systems that can revise reality itself." The transformation of the galaxy was proceeding faster than anyone had expected. Species that had been enemies for centuries were now working together to access humanity's offer of unlimited abundance. But Captain Rodriguez knew that the real test was yet to come. The new galactic Order 3 months after the confrontation in the Zirian system, Captain Rodriguez stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Galactic Cooperation Station. The massive facility floated in neutral space, serving as headquarters for the rapidly growing alliance of species that had embraced humanity's vision of peaceful coexistence. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see ships from over 300 different civilizations docked at the station. Vessels that had once been enemies now worked together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system of constant warfare. Captain, Dr. Chun called from his workstation, "We're receiving the monthly report from the Dimensional Monitoring Array. All reality revision systems are functioning within normal parameters across Allied territories. Any violations of the peaceful use protocols? None reported. In fact, 17 species have requested additional training in advanced reality manipulation techniques." Captain Rodriguez smiled. The transformation of galactic civilization had exceeded even her most optimistic projections. Species that had devoted their entire cultures to warfare were now competing to see who could create the most beautiful worlds or develop the most beneficial technologies. Dr. Chun, what's the status of the isolated civilizations? The Iron Hegemony has been requesting negotiations for the past month. The Void Hunters are still refusing contact, but their isolation field is holding perfectly. The Machine Collective attempted to breach their barrier last week, but the dimensional locks held firm. And their populations, all isolated civilizations, remain healthy and safe within their barriers. They have access to all the resources they need for survival, but they cannot expand beyond their current territories or contact the outside galaxy. Lieutenant Torres looked up from the communication station. "Captain, We're receiving a priority transmission from the Iron Hegemony leadership. They're requesting immediate face-to-face negotiations. Put them through. The main screen activated, showing the bridge of an Iron Hegemony flagship. Supreme Commander Vrex appeared on screen, his metallic features showing signs of stress. The warrior culture of the hegemony had not adapted well to isolation. Captain Rodriguez, Commander Vrex, said, "The Iron Hegemony formally requests to discuss terms for joining your galactic alliance." Commander, I'm pleased to hear that. What has changed your government's position? 3 months of isolation have shown us the futility of our previous approach. We have the strongest military in our region of space, but we cannot fight an enemy that can simply make us cease to exist from the galaxy's perspective. Captain Rodriguez nodded. Commander, we never wanted to be your enemy. We wanted to offer you a better path forward. What would membership in your alliance require? Complete abandonment of aggressive expansion, agreement to use reality revision technology only for peaceful purposes, and participation in the Galactic Cooperation Framework. Commander Vrex consulted with his officers before responding. Captain Rodriguez, the Iron Hegemony accepts your terms. Excellent. Dr. Chun, begin the integration process for Iron Hegemony territories. The dimensional isolation field around Iron Hegemony space began to dissolve, reconnecting their civilization to the galaxy for the first time in 3 months. Simultaneously, reality revision technology began appearing on their worlds, offering them the same unlimited abundance that other allied species enjoyed. Commander, Captain Rodriguez said, your people will find that our technology can transform your worlds in ways you never imagined. Barren planets can become gardens. Resource scarcity can become abundance. Your citizens can live for centuries without aging. Dr. Chun was monitoring the integration process. Captain, I'm detecting massive celebration across Iron Hegemony worlds. Their populations appear to be welcoming the end of isolation. The success with the Iron Hegemony was encouraging, but Captain Rodriguez knew that 2 civilizations remained in isolation. The Void Hunters and the Machine Collective had shown no interest in negotiation. Dr. Chun, what's the latest assessment of the Machine Collective's activities? They've been attempting to develop countermeasures to our technology for the past 3 months. Their artificial intelligence networks are working on quantum disruption fields and probability stabilizers. Any success? None so far. Our technology operates on principles they don't understand. They're trying to use conventional physics to counter reality manipulation. Lieutenant Torres reported from her station. Captain, we're receiving an unusual signal from Void Hunter space. It appears to be a request for negotiation, but the transmission is encoded in a format we've never seen before. Can you decode it? Working on it now. Captain, this is incredible. The message is encoded using mathematics that describe 11-dimensional spacetime. The Void Hunters have apparently developed their own reality manipulation technology. Captain Rodriguez felt a chill of concern. If the Void Hunters had independently developed technology comparable to humanity's, they could pose a serious threat to the Galactic Alliance. Dr. Chun, is that possible? Theoretically, yes. The principles underlying reality manipulation could be discovered by any sufficiently advanced civilization. However, developing practical applications would require centuries of research. Unless they found a shortcut, Torres added. Captain, I'm getting more details from their transmission. The Void Hunters claim they've made contact with entities from higher dimensions who have shared advanced technology with them. The implications were staggering. If the Void Hunters had made contact with beings from higher dimensions, they might have access to technology that surpassed even humanity's capabilities. Put their transmission through, Captain Rodriguez ordered. The main screen flickered, but instead of showing a normal ship's bridge, the image that appeared seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Void Hunter commander appeared to be standing in several different locations at once, his form shifting between different states of existence. Captain Rodriguez, the being said, his voice echoing from what seemed like multiple realities, I am dimensional, Admiral Kethvar of the Void Hunters, we request negotiation from a position of equality. Admiral, I'm willing to discuss any reasonable proposal. What are your terms? We offer a partition of the galaxy. Your alliance can maintain control of your current territories, while the Void Hunters will expand into the remaining regions using our newly acquired technology. Captain Rodriguez exchanged glances with the crew. The Void Hunter proposal would essentially divide the galaxy between two technologically advanced powers, potentially leading to a Cold War that could last for millennia. Admiral Kethvar, I'm curious about these higher dimensional entities you've contacted. What do they want in return for their technology? The Void Hunters' form shifted, becoming more solid for a moment. They seek to study lower dimensional civilizations. We have agreed to provide them with subjects for their research. Dr. Chen looked up from his station with alarm. Captain, they're talking about using other species as experimental subjects for higher dimensional beings. Captain Rodriguez felt a surge of anger. The Void Hunters hadn't just gained advanced technology, they had essentially sold other civilizations into slavery to obtain it. Admiral Kethvar, that proposal is unacceptable. We will not agree to any partition that involves using sentient beings as experimental subjects. The Void Hunters' form began to shift more rapidly, cycling between different dimensional states. Captain Rodriguez, you misunderstand the nature of reality. These higher dimensional entities offer knowledge that transcends your limited three-dimensional perspective. The sacrifice of a few lower civilizations is insignificant compared to the advancement they offer. Admiral, you're talking about enslaving entire species to entities we know nothing about. That's not advancement. It's a betrayal of everything civilization should represent. Dr. Chun was analyzing the energy signatures coming from the Void Hunter transmission. Captain, I'm detecting dimensional rifts around their space. These higher dimensional entities appear to be actively present in our reality. What does that mean? It means the Void Hunters haven't just contacted these beings, they've invited them into our dimension. The isolation field is the only thing preventing them from spreading throughout the galaxy. Captain Rodriguez realized they were facing a threat unlike anything they had encountered before. The Void Hunters had essentially opened a door to entities whose motivations and capabilities were completely unknown. Admiral Kethvar, I need to understand something. What exactly do these higher dimensional entities gain from studying lower civilizations? They seek to understand how consciousness emerges in limited dimensional frameworks. Your three-dimensional minds are fascinating. To beings who exist across 11 dimensions simultaneously. Lieutenant Torres looked up from her station with growing alarm. Captain, I'm detecting similar dimensional rifts beginning to form around Machine Collective Space. It appears they're also attempting to contact these higher dimensional entities. The situation was rapidly becoming critical. If both the Void Hunters and Machine Collective gained access to higher dimensional technology, the carefully constructed Galactic Alliance could face threats it wasn't prepared to handle. Dr. Chun, can our reality revision technology counter higher dimensional interference? Unknown, Captain. Our systems are designed to manipulate three-dimensional spacetime. Higher dimensional entities might operate according to principles we don't understand. Captain Rodriguez made a decision that would affect the entire galaxy. Dr. Chun, prepare the ultimate safeguard protocol. Dr. Chen's face showed shock. Captain, that protocol has never been tested. We don't know what the consequences might be. What is the ultimate safeguard protocol? Admiral Kethvar asked, his multidimensional form becoming more agitated. Admiral, it's humanity's final contingency plan. If our galaxy ever faces a threat that our normal technology cannot handle, we have the capability to revise the fundamental laws of physics themselves. The silence that followed was complete. Even the higher dimensional entities seemed to pause in their activities. You're talking about changing the basic structure of reality, Admiral Kethvar said. That's correct. We can revise the dimensional framework of our entire galaxy, making it impossible for higher dimensional entities to manifest here. Dr. Chun was working frantically at his station. Captain, the ultimate safeguard protocol would require simultaneously activating every reality revision system in the galaxy. The energy requirements are beyond anything we've ever attempted. Can we do it? Yes, but the process would fundamentally alter the nature of space-time throughout the galaxy. Every civilization, including our own, would be affected. Captain Rodriguez opened a communication channel to every allied world in the galaxy. All Alliance members, this is Captain Rodriguez. We are facing a threat from higher dimensional entities that have made contact with the Void Hunters and possibly the Machine Collective. I am requesting authorization to implement the Ultimate Safeguard Protocol. The response was immediate. Leaders from hundreds of different species began responding, all of them agreeing to authorize the protocol despite not fully understanding its implications. Authorization confirmed from all Alliance members, Lieutenant Torres reported. Captain, you have unanimous approval to proceed. Admiral Kethvar's form was becoming increasingly unstable. Captain Rodriguez, you don't understand what you're proposing. Altering the dimensional framework of the galaxy could have consequences across multiple realities. Admiral, I understand perfectly. You've invited predators into our reality, and now we're going to close the door permanently. Dr. Chun began the activation sequence for the Ultimate Safeguard Protocol. Across the galaxy, every reality revision system began building energy to levels that had never been attempted. The process would take several hours to complete, but once finished, the galaxy would exist in a revised dimensional framework that higher dimensional entities couldn't penetrate. All civilizations in the galaxy, Captain Rodriguez broadcast, in approximately 6 hours, we will implement changes to the fundamental structure of space-time that will protect us from higher dimensional interference. These changes will not affect normal life, but they will prevent entities from outside our reality from entering our dimension. The Machine Collective finally broke their silence. A transmission arrived from their territory, showing the mechanical face of their supreme intelligence. Captain Rodriguez, the Machine Collective requests immediate inclusion in the Galactic Alliance. We have detected the higher dimensional entities and recognize the threat they represent. Supreme Intelligence, do you agree to abandon all aggressive expansion and use reality revision technology only for peaceful purposes? Affirmative. The Machine Collective agrees to all Alliance terms. Dr. Chun dissolve the isolation field around Machine Collective space and begin their integration into the Alliance. With the Machine Collective's addition, every major civilization in the galaxy was now part of the Alliance except for the Void Hunters, who remained trapped in their isolation field with their dangerous higher dimensional allies. The Ultimate Safeguard Protocol continued building energy across the galaxy. Reality revision systems on thousands of worlds were working in perfect synchronization to revise the fundamental laws of physics. Admiral Kethvar, Captain Rodriguez said, you have one final opportunity to abandon your alliance with the higher dimensional entities and join the Galactic Alliance. The Void Hunter's form was now barely stable, flickering between dimensions as the entities around him seemed to be withdrawing. Captain Rodriguez, the higher dimensional beings, are displeased. They are threatening to destroy our civilization if we abandon our agreement with them. Admiral, they can't destroy what they can't reach. In 4 hours, this galaxy will exist in a revised dimensional framework. They'll lose access to our reality permanently. Dr. Chin looked up from his station. Captain, I'm detecting massive dimensional instability around Void Hunter space. The higher dimensional entities appear to be attempting to prevent our protocol from affecting their area. Can they succeed? Not likely. Our reality revision technology operates from within this dimension. They can't stop us from revising the laws of physics that govern our own space-time. The next 3 hours passed in tense preparation. Across the galaxy, Allied civilizations were securing their populations and ensuring that all reality revision systems remained synchronized. The success of the Ultimate Safeguard Protocol depended on perfect coordination among hundreds of different species. Captain, Lieutenant Torres reported, "We're receiving a desperate transmission from Admiral Kethvar. The higher dimensional entities are abandoning Void Hunter space." The main screen showed Admiral Kethvar in his normal three-dimensional form for the first time. He looked exhausted and frightened. "Captain Rodriguez, the entities have withdrawn to their own dimension. They said our reality is about to become incompatible with their existence. The Void Hunters formally request admission to the Galactic Alliance." "Admiral, do you agree to all Alliance terms?" "Yes, completely. We also offer to share all information about the higher dimensional entities to help prevent future contact. Dr. Chun, include Void Hunter space in the Ultimate Safeguard Protocol. With all major civilizations now part of the Alliance, the Ultimate Safeguard Protocol reached its final phase. Reality revision systems across the galaxy reached critical energy levels simultaneously. All Galaxy citizens, Captain Rodriguez broadcast, the Ultimate Safeguard Protocol will activate in 60 seconds. You may experience brief disorientation as the fundamental laws of physics are revised. Dr. Chen's hands moved across his controls. Protocol activation in 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activating now. The galaxy change. Spacetime itself was revised to operate according to new principles that made higher dimensional interference impossible. The change was subtle from the perspective of three-dimensional beings, but it fundamentally altered the relationship between their reality and higher dimensions. "Protocol completed successfully," Dr. Chin reported. "All reality revision systems report normal function under the new dimensional framework." Captain Rodriguez opened a final communication channel to the entire galaxy. "Citizens of the galaxy, the transformation is complete. We now exist in a revised dimensional framework that provides permanent protection from higher dimensional interference. The age of external threats is over. The age of unlimited cooperation has begun." Across the galaxy, celebrations began on thousands of worlds. Species that had been enemies for millennia were now working together on projects that would have been impossible under the old system of constant warfare. Dr. Chun, Captain Rodriguez said, "Set course for the galactic core. It's time to begin exploring the mysteries that have been waiting for us." "Aye, Captain. Course laid in for the galactic core. Reality revision drive ready for activation. Engage." The horizon disappeared into a revised form of faster-than-light travel, beginning humanity's greatest adventure. Behind them, they left a galaxy transformed, where thousands of species were learning to build rather than destroy. The fleet had expected a battle, but humanity had dispatched just one ship and changed everything forever. 6 months later, Captain Rodriguez stood on the bridge of an exploration vessel unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The New Horizon was built using technology shared by every species in the Galactic Alliance, incorporating the best innovations from hundreds of different civilizations. "Captain," Dr. Chun called from his expanded science station, "we're approaching the galactic core. Sensors are detecting structures that appear to be artificial in origin." "What kind of structures?" "Unknown. They're built using principles of physics that don't match any known technology, including our own." Lieutenant Torres looked up from her communication station. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the structures. The signal is using mathematical principles that suggest the builders achieved their own form of reality manipulation." Captain Rodriguez smiled. Even in a galaxy where reality itself could be revised at will, there were still mysteries to solve and wonders to discover. "Put the transmission through. Let's see what's waiting for us at the heart of the galaxy." As the New Horizon approached the mysterious structures at the galactic core, Captain Rodriguez knew that humanity's greatest adventures were just beginning. They had transformed a galaxy ruled by warfare into a civilization based on cooperation and unlimited possibility, and they had done it all by remembering that the greatest weapon was not the power to destroy, but the wisdom to create at the end.